Imagine for a moment a people who, despite being beset by geographical limitations, natural disasters, and resource scarcity, were able to rise from the ashes and build one of the most prosperous and respected nations on the planet. This is Japan, a country that teaches us with its disciplined and focused mindset that wealth is not born by chance or luck, but by consistent habits, mental discipline, and a clear vision of purpose. By immersing ourselves in this art of prosperity, we are not just studying a distant culture, we are discovering a mindset that can completely transform any life. The first secret of the Japanese is to understand that wealth begins in the mind. Nothing happens in the external world without first being conceived within. Japan, after the war, was destroyed, but the spirit of reconstruction was fueled by a collective vision of greatness. This principle translates to every person who wants to prosper. It doesn't matter where you start, what matters is where your mind is directed. Having clarity of purpose is like lighting a flame that guides every decision, every step, every effort. This clarity eliminates the feeling of living on autopilot and gives strength even on difficult days. And here comes the concept that many Japanese people experience almost naturally, ikigai. It represents the reason for getting up every day. It's the intersection between what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what can be rewarded. When you find this point, discipline stops being a sacrifice and becomes freedom. A person with clarity of purpose doesn't tire easily because each task takes on meaning. Now think about your life. How many days do you wake up knowing exactly why you acted? It's this focus that transforms effort into prosperity. The millionaire mindset isn't formed overnight, but through habits cultivated with patience and consistency. The Japanese demonstrate this through Kaizen, the philosophy of continuous improvement. It's not about making radical changes all at once, but about small daily adjustments. Improving 1% each day may seem small, but over the course of a year, it adds up to a giant leap. Most people give up too soon because they believe they need immediate results. But those who understand the power of slow progress build solid wealth that isn't easily lost. Before we continue, I want you to pause now and repeat after me out loud. I am ready to prosper. Repeat it firmly, as if making a commitment to your own mind. And before continuing to listen to this content, make sure you've already hit the like button, but only do so if you truly want to attract wealth into your life. This gesture is symbolic. It's an act of decision, showing yourself that you're committed to changing your mindset and opening yourself to abundance. Japanese discipline isn't rigid as many think. It's strategic. It's the understanding that every small action, repeated consistently, generates a huge impact over time. See how this can be applied to any area of your life. If you want to improve your finances, instead of trying to change everything at once, start by adjusting small daily choices. If you want to develop a skill, dedicate a few minutes every day and allow the accumulation to work its silent magic. This is the foundation of wealth. Not giving up halfway, but sustaining the process until the fruits appear. Another powerful principle we learn from the Japanese is giri, the unbreakable commitment to one's word. In Japan, the word is seen as a sacred contract. This teaches us that prosperity is built not only with effort, but also with trust. When someone sees that you deliver on your promises, your credibility becomes a valuable asset. Trust opens doors that talent alone never could. And this is what often separates those who thrive from those who remain trapped in cycles of scarcity. The discipline to keep one's word and be honest even when no one is looking. Beyond discipline and honor, there's also makoto, strategic patience. How many people make rash decisions only to regret them later? The Japanese show us that acting quickly isn't the same as acting correctly. Prosperity requires a balance between intention and timing. It's not about waiting indefinitely, but about acting at the right moment with clarity and preparation. This strategic patience is what prevents small mistakes from destroying great achievements. And here comes a lesson that can completely change your perspective on wealth. Excess is not synonymous with abundance. The Japanese practice kanso, a minimalism that eliminates distractions and creates space for what truly matters. Likewise, your mind needs to be clear of useless thoughts and unnecessary worries. A cluttered mind leads to cluttered decisions. A clear mind makes room for prosperity. If you truly want to attract wealth, you need to learn to simplify, cut out excess, and focus your energy only on what makes a real impact. Japanese tradition also values the king, respecting experience. This means humility to learn from those who have already walked the path. Often, the scarcity mindset believes it must figure everything out on its own, but the wealth mindset understands that learning from those with more experience shortens years of trial and error. Respect for accumulated wisdom is an accelerator of prosperity. Therefore, always seek to surround yourself with people who have already reached where you want to go. Observe, learn, and apply. And we can't forget gammon, emotional resilience. Japan has faced wars, earthquakes, and tsunamis, but has always risen. This was only possible because of this ability to endure hardships with dignity and perseverance. Many people give up when faced with obstacles, but true riches lie in store for those who decide to keep going, even when each step seems difficult. This inner strength is what transforms temporary defeats into lasting victories. Now I want you to reflect and write in the comments, which of these Japanese principles do you believe you most need to apply in your life right now? Is it clear purpose, continuous improvement, strategic patience, or resilience in the face of difficulties? This act of writing isn't just interaction, it's commitment. When you declare, you reinforce to your mind that you're ready to put it into practice. And remember, wealth isn't a final destination. It's a journey of habits, discipline, and mindset. The Japanese show us that there's no magic formula, but rather the sum of small, consistent actions guided by purpose, honor, and clarity. Starting today, you have the chance to start applying these codes to your life and build your own prosperity. When we talk about wealth, many people immediately picture money, material possessions, status, or power. But the Japanese show us that true prosperity goes far beyond these external symbols. It comes from within, from how we see the world, how we deal with challenges, and the discipline that shapes each daily choice. It's as if wealth were a natural reflection of a well-trained, clear, organized, and resilient mind. This mindset doesn't arise by chance, but from cultivated habits, respected principles, and an unwavering dedication to growth. One of the greatest secrets Japanese culture reveals is the importance of consistency. In a world that values shortcuts, immediate results, and quick fixes, the Japanese have cultivated the art of building wealth step by step, without rushing or losing focus. This is the principle of Kaizen, continuous improvement. Imagine a craftsman who, for years, patiently repeats the same movement, fine-tuning his technique. To an outside observer, it may seem trivial, but over time, this care transforms something simple into something extraordinary. The same goes for your life. Small daily advances can lead you to a level of wealth that might seem unattainable today. Many believe that only grand actions bring results, but consider this. Someone who builds a wall doesn't lay all the stones in a single day. They lay one, then another, and another. What sustains this construction is the discipline to keep laying bricks, even when the results aren't yet visible. And that's precisely where most give up, in the silence of waiting. The Japanese, however, understand that value lies in the process, not just the result. To thrive is to have the patience to see the invisible become visible. This thought connects to another powerful principle, giri, which teaches that a given word is a heritage. In Japan, it's not just about being punctual or fulfilling agreements, but about understanding that trust is an invisible capital that multiplies all other riches. Think about how many doors open when someone trusts you. Trust is like a currency that circulates silently, but it decides who receives opportunities and who is forgotten. And herein lies the lesson. Being trustworthy is more valuable than appearing talented. Now think about how you handle your promises. Do you consistently keep them even when no one is looking? This detail makes all the difference. Breaking promises destroys credibility, and without credibility, there is no true prosperity. Committing to your word builds a reputation that naturally attracts opportunities without having to chase them. Another trait the Japanese cultivate is makoto, strategic patience. Instead of acting impulsively, they observe, analyze, prepare, and act at the right time. How many times have you made a rash decision and later regretted it? Impatience is costly. Makoto teaches us that wealth also lies in knowing how to wait. It's not passivity, but preparation. It's planting and tending patiently until the right time for harvest. Just as you don't pluck a green fruit to savor its sweetness, prosperity also has its time. But there's something even deeper that we need to highlight. Kanso, Japanese minimalism. Wealth isn't built by accumulating useless things, but by focusing energy on what truly matters. For many, abundance is excess, but the Japanese demonstrate the opposite. Excess is waste. True power lies in clarity. A mind polluted by distractions, worries, and comparisons cannot generate prosperity. A clear mind, on the other hand, can see the essential, act with focus, and reap extraordinary results. I want you to do an exercise right now. Close your eyes for a few seconds and imagine your life without excess. Imagine your routine simplified, your mind at peace, your focus directed only to what truly matters. This vision is liberating because it shows you that you don't need more things, you need more clarity. Kanso isn't just about aesthetics or external organization, it's the foundation for a prosperous mind. Another principle that strengthens this journey is the king, respect for experience. Wealth grows faster when you learn from those who have already walked the path. It's not a sign of weakness to seek guidance. It's a sign of intelligence. Many people spend years trying to figure out for themselves what others have already taught them. The Japanese understand the value of humility in learning, listening, observing, and applying it. When you respect experience, you shorten your journey and avoid costly mistakes. And here comes gammon, perhaps one of the most beautiful Japanese principles. It represents resilience, the strength to rise again every time life knocks you down. Japan has been devastated by wars, earthquakes, and tsunamis, but it has always risen again. This shows that prosperity is not the absence of difficulties, but the ability to resist them. Many people give up at the most difficult moment, when they are just steps away from victory. Gaman is this silent decision to continue, even when the pain is great. Now, I want you to repeat out loud, with conviction, I am stronger than my obstacles. This simple exercise strengthens your mind and creates a new identity, because prosperity begins when you refuse to be defined by difficulties and choose to be defined by your persistence. Finally, remember shokunin, the pride in doing one's best, not to impress others, but as a contribution to the world. This Japanese principle shows that true excellence isn't for show, but because it has become an internal standard. When you deliver more value than expected, the world naturally rewards you. There is no lasting prosperity without dedication to excellence. These Japanese codes aren't just distant concepts, they're practical tools you can start applying today. And here's the bottom line. Listening doesn't change anything. What does is choose a principle and start practicing it today. Wealth, as the Japanese demonstrate, is not an isolated event, but rather a natural consequence of consistently repeated principles. If we examine the history of these people, we see that after periods of total destruction, they never gave in to despair. On the contrary, they transformed each hardship into a reason to reinvent themselves. This shows us that prosperity is not the result of a perfect environment, but of a mindset that chooses to act even in the midst of chaos. The first lesson to emerge from this journey is clarity of purpose. In a country where every artisan, every master, every worker dedicates themselves with discipline to a task, we see a recurring pattern. Everyone knows why they do what they do. This principle, called ikigai, isn't limited to finding a passion or talent, but rather aligning the love for what one does with its usefulness to the world and the ability to generate income. This clarity not only motivates, but guides every decision. When life has a well-defined why, the how becomes easier. But clarity without action doesn't produce results. That's why the Japanese practice kaizen, continuous improvement. While many people wait for the big opportunity or the revolutionary idea, they focus on small daily actions that, when accumulated, produce big changes. A simple habit repeated every day creates an invisible multiplier effect. It's like a seed that slowly grows into a robust tree. At first, it seems too small, but over time, the results are magnificent. And here comes an essential aspect: strategic patience, or makoto. How many people do you know who give up early because they don't see immediate results? This impatience is what kills dreams before they blossom. Makoto teaches that you must wait for the right moment to harvest. Acting at the wrong time can ruin years of effort. Prosperity doesn't go hand in hand with haste. It goes hand in hand with discipline. Strategic patience isn't passivity, but the wisdom to recognize the exact time to act. However, acting consistently and patiently isn't enough. It's also necessary to cultivate integrity and trust, what the Japanese call giri. Giri is the unbreakable commitment to one's word. In Japan, failing to fulfill an agreement isn't just a practical matter, but a stain on one's reputation. This is because trust is seen as the foundation of prosperity. And there's no way to truly prosper without credibility. Those who keep their word build strong relationships, open invisible doors, and accumulate wealth that money alone can't buy. Another essential principle is kanso, minimalism. In a culture where less is more, the Japanese learned that excess doesn't mean abundance, but rather waste. A mind overloaded with useless information and distractions cannot create wealth. On the other hand, a simple, clear, and focused mind has the power to transform ideas into results. Kanso teaches us to eliminate everything that doesn't serve us and keep only what is essential for growth. Prosperity isn't about having everything. It's about having what truly matters. Respect for experience, known as rei, is another factor that accelerates prosperity. While many believe they need to discover everything on their own, the Japanese understand that learning from those who have already walked the path is a way to shorten the journey. This humility to listen, observe, and apply knowledge saves time and energy. Wealth is not built in isolation, but in the wisdom of absorbing the best of those who have already achieved great results. And when life presents difficulties, and it always does, gammon, emotional resilience, comes into play. It's the ability to endure pain, loss, and obstacles without losing dignity or giving up. Japanese history is marked by earthquakes, tsunamis, and devastating wars, but the people have always risen again. This proves that prosperity doesn't depend on a flawless path, but on the decision to get back up every time you fall. Those who possess gammon don't let themselves be defeated by the first difficulty, but transform each fall into a step toward an upward climb. There's also shokunin, the pride in delivering the best work possible, not out of vanity, but as a contribution to the world. This mindset of excellence builds reputations that span generations. It's not just about doing things well when someone is watching, but about cultivating a standard of quality that is invisibly maintained in every detail. This dedication generates recognition, respect, and, naturally, prosperity. And finally, we can't forget wa, collective harmony. In Japan, it's understood that a group's success strengthens individual success. This means that prosperity isn't just about competition, but also about collaboration. When people work in harmony, the results are multiplied. Wa teaches that by creating environments of cooperation, everyone grows together. Now I want you to do a simple exercise. Choose one of these principles and write in the comments which one you will apply today. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. Because wealth isn't born of good intentions. It's born of decisions put into practice. When you choose a principle and act on it, you're already shaping your mindset for prosperity. And remember, wealth isn't something distant, reserved for the few. It's a daily process built by those who choose to cultivate discipline, purpose, and resilience. Just as the Japanese showed the world that abundance can arise from destruction, you too can prove to yourself that a prosperous and abundant life can emerge from your current situation. When it comes to wealth, many people believe the path depends on finding the right opportunity, getting lucky, or waiting for a big event that changes everything. But the truth, as the Japanese demonstrate, is that prosperity isn't the result of isolated events, but rather of consistent habits, cultivated with discipline and awareness. It's like the growth of a tree. You never see it grow day by day, but over time, the fruits inevitably appear. The Japanese mentality teaches us that wealth is built silently, in small gestures that seem almost invisible, but that accumulate strength over time. This principle is clearly evident in Kaizen, the philosophy of continuous improvement. Imagine someone who decides to evolve just 1% each day. At the end of a year, the transformation will be gigantic. This is precisely what differentiates those who thrive from those who live in cycles of scarcity. The patience to repeat the process every day, even when results are not yet visible. But it's not enough to simply improve a little each day. You need to be clear about where you want to go. This is the role of Ikigai, the purpose that gives meaning to actions. Without purpose, even the most intense efforts are lost, like a river without banks. But when you have a clear purpose, even the most difficult tasks gain meaning and energy. Ikigai reminds us that thriving isn't just about accumulating, but about aligning life, talent, need, and reward in a single point. It is from this clarity that true motivation arises, the kind that doesn't depend on external factors. Another essential aspect is giri, honor, and commitment to one's word. Prosperity cannot exist on shaky ground, and trust is the foundation that sustains everything. In Japan, a broken promise is seen as serious because it destroys not only the agreement itself, but all the credibility built over time. And credibility is an invisible currency that opens doors that money alone never could. Giri teaches us that prosperity is not just about effort, but about integrity. But even integrity needs to be accompanied by strategy. This is where Makoto comes in, the patience to act at the right time. Prosperity requires preparation and discernment. Often, the mistake isn't in wanting to achieve something, but in trying to rush the process. A step taken too soon can lead to greater losses than expected. Makoto shows that it's not about being slow, but about being precise. Just as an arrow is only true when fired at the right time, your actions also need to be synchronized with the right moment. Kanso, in turn, teaches that less is more. In a world overloaded with information, tasks, and distractions, the Japanese find power in simplicity. This minimalism is not only aesthetic, but functional, eliminating excess to make room for what truly matters. Often, prosperity doesn't come because we're trying to do too many things at once. But when you eliminate what doesn't add value, you have energy left over to focus on the essentials. Prosperity isn't about having everything, but about focusing on what truly brings results. The king, respect for experience, reinforces this idea of growth. It's the humility to learn from those who have already walked the path. A closed mind, which believes it knows everything, moves slowly and repeats unnecessary mistakes. An open mind, however, which values the experience of others, saves time and advances faster. Respect for teachers, tradition, and accumulated wisdom generates a natural acceleration. Prosperity is not built on isolation, but on collective learning. When difficulties arise, and they always do, gaman becomes indispensable. It's the emotional strength to remain standing even amidst chaos. Japan's history clearly demonstrates this. Earthquakes, wars, and crises could have completely destroyed the country, but resilience has always made it rise again, even stronger. This is the spirit that separates those who prosper from those who give up. Wealth is not born from the absence of problems, but from the courage to not give up in the face of them. Shokunin reinforces another fundamental point: the pride in doing one's best, not for recognition, but as a contribution to the world. Those who adopt this mindset of excellence build reputations that last generations. This is because true prosperity is not based on shortcuts or appearances, but on real value delivered to the world. Every detail matters, even when no one is looking. This is the kind of mindset that creates extraordinary results. And finally, collective harmony reminds us that wealth is not only individual, but also shared. When a group thrives together, each individual grows stronger. In Japan, collaboration is seen as a long-term strategy. Unnecessary conflict drains energy, but harmony enhances results. This is a principle that shows that thriving is not about competing against everyone, but about collaborating so that everyone advances. Now do this exercise. Choose a principle from those we just explored and declare out loud: I will apply name of chosen principle starting today. This simple statement is already a first step toward transforming intention into action. Also, write in the comments which principle you chose. This reinforces your commitment and creates a pact with yourself. Prosperity is built this way, with purpose, discipline, integrity, patience, focus, learning, resilience, excellence, and harmony. These are the Japanese codes, but above all, they are universal codes that can transform any life. True prosperity is not a stroke of luck, nor an unexpected event. It is the result of daily choices, cultivated quietly and consistently. And perhaps this is one of the greatest lessons the Japanese offer the world. Wealth is a natural consequence of disciplined habits. Japan didn't become a powerhouse because it waited for perfect conditions, but because its citizens understood that every small decision matters. Thus, they rebuilt a devastated country and transformed it into a world reference in technology, culture, and quality of life. If we observe closely, we will see that the great secret of Japanese prosperity is discipline applied to purpose. The word discipline is often confused with sacrifice, rigidity, or deprivation, but for them, discipline means freedom. Freedom from relying on fleeting motivation, freedom from being a slave to impulses, freedom to walk steadily toward a goal. This way of living creates solid results that are not lost in the face of the first difficulties. The first step is to understand the value of ikigai, the reason for existing. Imagine waking up every day with such clarity about what needs to be done that even laziness loses its power. Ikigai is precisely this alignment between passion, talent, contribution to the world, and reward. Those who find this point never again live on autopilot. Waking up early ceases to be an obligation and becomes a privilege. Working is not a burden, but a natural expression of purpose. Thriving, in this sense, is not just about accumulating material wealth, but living a life of meaning. But for this purpose to manifest itself in concrete prosperity, it's necessary to cultivate the philosophy of Kaizen. It's not about expecting sudden, major transformations, but about practicing small, daily improvements. The power of quiet progress is immense. Improving just 1% a day may seem small, but over time, it generates a change that's impossible to ignore. Most people give up too soon because they can't see the immediate rewards. However, those who trust the process and remain consistent reach a level that seems unattainable to those who live in a rush. This constancy is only possible when there is giri, an unbreakable commitment to one's word. For the Japanese, trust is the most valuable asset. When someone loses trust, they lose much more than money. They lose reputation, respect, and opportunities. Giri reminds us that true wealth isn't born solely from talent or strategy, but from the credibility that builds over the years. Being someone who keeps their promises is one of the greatest ways to attract prosperity because it opens invisible doors that isolated effort cannot open. But it's important to emphasize, prosperity also requires wisdom to act at the right time. Makoto, strategic patience, teaches us that there's no point in trying to harvest prematurely. Often, a premature step can destroy years of work. Success is like a seed. It needs preparation, watering, and time to mature. Those who act hastily stumble. Those who act patiently reap abundantly. And this is one of the big differences between those who prosper and those who remain stagnant. Another essential point is kanso, the minimalism that eliminates excess. We live in an age of constant distraction. Time is consumed by useless activities, unnecessary worries, and superficial desires. Kanso shows us that prosperity lies not in accumulating, but in simplifying. A cluttered mind cannot prosper. A clear, organized, and focused mind, however, has the power to transform ideas into real results. Prosperity is clarity, not confusion. Humility to learn is also a key element represented by the king. The Japanese understand that it's impossible to accelerate alone. Respecting the experience of masters, learning from tradition, and valuing the wisdom of those who have walked before shortens years of trial and error. This isn't submission, it's intelligence. Those who learn from the experience of others multiply their results. Prospering, therefore, isn't just about building, but also about absorbing and applying what has already been proven over time. And when obstacles inevitably arise, gammon, emotional resilience, comes into play. This ability to endure pain and challenges without losing dignity and determination is one of the greatest strengths Japan has ever demonstrated. Think of what they've faced: wars, earthquakes, tsunamis, and yet they've always risen. This resilience is the essence of prosperity, because wealth isn't the absence of hardship, it's the decision to remain steadfast even when everything seems to be falling apart. Another powerful principle is shokunin, the pride in delivering excellence. This means putting maximum dedication into every task, even the details no one sees. Prosperity doesn't come from doing the bare minimum, but from going above and beyond, transforming every action into an expression of care and excellence. This mindset builds solid reputations and results that span generations. Finally, collective harmony, teaches that prosperity is not only individual but also shared. When a group grows together, everyone is strengthened. Collaboration creates multipliers of results that no isolated effort could achieve. Thriving is not about winning alone, but about creating environments in which everyone can grow. Now, I want you to do a simple exercise. Repeat out loud, "I choose to prosper every day, in every small choice." This affirmation puts your mind in a state of responsibility and clarity. Then, write in the comments which Japanese principle resonated with you most in this section. This act reinforces your commitment and creates a record of your own transformation process. Prosperity is inevitable for those who cultivate these principles. Just as Japan rose from the ashes to become a symbol of discipline and abundance, you too can transform your reality by applying these same keys day after day. If you'd like to hear more wealth content, I've created a playlist here on the screen. Click here and we'll see you in the next video.